Capricorn, welcome to your 2017 astrological overview, and this is Rena. So I have been kind of writing down or typing out some of your highlights for 2017, and it's interesting to do these. I've never done, just the whole year for the YouTube videos before. And just kind of thinking what to leave in and keep out. And I just want to say that I do these privately in my private readings. They're natal chart interpretations with 12 months of highlights. And I look at some of your talents, some of your personality traits, and then I look at some of the highlights in your career, your money, and love, which tend to be the three main things in life. But just look at, some of the transits that are happening personally for you based upon the time that you're born. So I'm going to leave a link below this video to my website if you're interested in something that's tailor made for your particular time of birth and birth date. But for these readings, I have to say they're general because depending on your sun sign degree or your rising sign, they can, the timing of it can be different. So I should have said too that this is for Capricorn sun and rising. Now, in 2017, one of the interesting things is that you have at the very tail end of the year, Saturn going into your sign. And actually Saturn is your ruler. So everybody dreads the Saturn return, but Capricorn knows how to deal with this. And not only deal with it, but actually make the most of it. Because since it's your ruler, it's not something that you think of in a negative light. You don't hold it in a negative light. For a lot of us, we see Saturn as a very severe kind of teacher. And it doesn't have to be that way at all. And I've come to respect the grounding, the practical application that Saturn can command us to undertake. Now, Capricorn, one great thing about 2017 for your sun sign or your rising sign is that you have Jupiter, the planet of luck and expansion, in your 10th house of career. What makes this even more of a wonderful energy is that you naturally rule the 10th house. Okay, it's at the top of the chart, it's your reputation in the world, and you have this very expansive and optimistic and, broad-minded energy with you until October of 2017. And then it moves into your 11th house of hopes and wishes and your goals. So it really is this 1-2 punch of a lot of good stuff happening for you in terms of realizing your dreams, but also, cementing or expanding whatever it is that you do. And this isn't going to be the kind of job that you think of as grunt work or drudgery. This is actual career advancement. And so that is yet another reason why I think that, this is going to be a terrific year for you. And so let me just talk about a couple of other things that are going on related to your particular first house, because that's going to happen at the very end of the year. But you have Pluto in your sign, and this ain't going anywhere. This is going to be happening until I think it's January of 2024. And so with Pluto being this very transformative energy, and the first house being the house of the self, you may, come out of it looking entirely different than you did starting in 2008. People may not recognize you after Pluto gets through with you. But I think it will be better because Pluto can be very healing. So if you're somebody who has always been plagued with various health things, and for Capricorn, it may even relate to your skeletal system. So if you've maybe had a bad back, or you had knee problems or something along those lines, you may find yourself in a totally healed place. You know, maybe you learn how to be flexible. Maybe you have felt very rigid, and you become much more fluid, and you become, Pluto can make you, maybe you will become more streamlined if you've been a little fluffy, and, anything along those lines. The thing about it, though, is it goes far beyond just your body or your physical appearance. It's more about your sense of self. And you may feel like you have had quite a, how would I put it? I was going to say a renovation, but it's just like a complete overhaul in, how you saw yourself, how you projected yourself to other people, and maybe just, you could say in general, an outlook on life. Your outlook on life changes. Now, you do have Uranus with also another long-term transit in a cardinal sign, in the 4th house of home and family in Aries. So I feel like these two things are working in tandem, actually. Uranus is a very erratic energy. It's a very unpredictable energy. And it's very revolutionary, nonconformist, rebellious, however you want to put it. And in the 4th house of home and family, it can really throw a monkey wrench on people that are trying to live the white picket fence, the June cleaver, Ward cleaver existence, and the 2.5 children. It really can make you, either you or your partner, or both of you, rebel against that. And you are the Capricorn rules the 10th house of career. It opposes this 4th house, which is, ruled by Cancer in the universal chart. So this can create a feeling of, with Uranus in your particular 4th house, it can create a lot of feelings of instability within you, because you tend to be a traditional type of person, Capricorn. You're not the type usually to do things in a way that is contrary to what people tend to do. So you're not like a counterculture type of person. Again, mileage may vary. These are general readings. They're not taking into account your moon sign, your rising sign. If you're watching as a Capricorn sun sign, you can have a lot of energies, maybe even in Aquarius, because Aquarius is right next to you, and that may alter some of this generalization that I'm giving. But in general, Capricorn is a traditional sign, and as such, it tends to like to conform to social expectations and social norms, societal norms. So this is going to be a period where that's all tested. And it's not really tested, it's just going to happen. You might have you may not even lay down roots until it leaves there in 2019. You may have had a nomadic experience in the last several years since it entered Aries. And I believe that was 2012, but don't quote me on that. It might be in 2011. But whenever it came, it might have been 2010. I really can't remember when it started. But it started probably about at least 5 years ago. And we've seen it's an outer planet, Uranus, and we've seen in America that we've had a lot of upheaval. And these outer planets are hitting, because our country is a Cancerian country. They clash with that. They form hard angles, opposition and square. And this is also true in your personal chart by virtue of being a Capricorn, that you're experiencing this on the micro level. Okay, so what do you do about this? Well, there's not really much you can do except to, it's like that saying in the Serenity Prayer, change what you can, but accept what you can't. Change may be the norm for the next couple of years. Remember that this too shall pass. This isn't going to be around past 2017. Or I'm sorry, 2019. And so, it's just that if you have been experiencing any kind of family upsets of any kind, even like in your family of origin, you may have had some kind of unusual experiences occur, but it could be with the current family. If you are a married person, you may feel like there have been one thing after the other occurring, and especially, it could be with just your home, where you had to move. You thought you had laid down roots, and then you had to move again. Just remember that this too shall pass. But what's interesting is that with Pluto in the first house, affecting your sense of self, this is good, because it teaches you not to identify with these outer things. Don't identify with your children and say, okay, I'm an okay person because my children are high achievers. And I'm an okay person because my house, I have look at my beautiful house. And then, it turns out that, it's infested with termites or something and you have to move. Whenever we try to put our identity into something other than, just our basic sense of self, and we rely on these outer things to define us, it's funny how life can come around and, teach us, oh no, that is not who you are. And, I should have said at the very beginning that you're going to have your new moon of 2017 in 2016. That wasn't a really clear way of putting it, was it? But I'm sure that most of you are going to be watching this in 2016 because I'm posting this on the 1st of December. So if you are watching in 2016, the new moon is going to be in Capricorn, is going to be on 12/29. There's not going to be another new moon in Capricorn in the year 2017. It's going to obviously be in January, and I haven't pulled that up. But so you're going to have to, make your new beginning this year in 2016. That'll be your solar cycle for the entire 12-month period, the beginning of that solar cycle. And, there's going to be a Mercury retrograde happening as you have your solar return. Well, some of you, if you're born after, the Mercury retrograde ends on the first week of January, so that'll be like the 8th. So if you're born after the 8th of January, that's not a big deal because you will have a new solar cycle after the retrograde. But if your birthday happens up until the 8th, you're going to have your solar return during a Mercury retrograde. So all I would say about that is you can still set your intentions. Just realize that some of them may actually, have to be modified in some way. And also, if you want and, it's feasible, you might want to start acting on them after the retrograde is over rather than launching during that time. But only, whatever is comfortable for you. And let me see. I wanted to say something else. We're going to have a Venus retrograde, actually. And this is going to take place in Aries. And this is starting on March 4th. And it's going to go back to Pisces. So there's that 4th house again for you. Something to do with it. Now this could be again like even a property that because Venus can rule the luxury goods and anything that's expensive. So you might have some kind of a change of heart, or something may fall apart that you're trying to do. It could even be like a renovation project too, I suppose, to beautify your home. Now, one way this can play out for you, Capricorn, is you may have some kind of like sense of being torn between your hometown or your area that you grew up in and the current place where you're living, because the 3rd house rules your, current neighborhood. So Venus, when it goes retrograde, it's actually going to dip back into Pisces, and that's your 3rd house. So it could play out where, you're kind of like not sure if you're still in love with living where you're in, and you're kind of like going back and forth if you want to live where you're currently living, or maybe you want to go back to your place where you grew up or something like that. And maybe something comes about that really makes that even a possibility. As I say, you have so much of this unpredictable kind of energy coming out of that 4th house that there may be something very suddenly that is an opportunity involving real estate. Maybe your family of origin, there's some property or the family home that you grew up in, and that somehow comes into play, and you're forced to decide, do I want to live there? Do I want to live where I'm currently living? And as I say, you may even have a lot of kind of upheaval in terms of laying down roots until 2019. And so you may feel like a little bit up in the air and what's going to happen next, when it comes to your home base. What I want to say also, which is very interesting, is that Mars is not going to be in your sign all year. So, wow, that's pretty significant in the sense of your sense of ambition, because you have a naturally ambitious nature. And maybe, because of other things that are going on that are affecting you, you're going to be a little bit less driven in 2017, but maybe it's actually for your benefit, because Saturn, which is your ruler until the end of the year, is going to be in the 12th house. That's the last house of the zodiac, the house that Pisces rules, the house that Neptune rules. And in the 12th house, Saturn has a lot of cobwebs to clear out. But if you know anything about what the 12th house represents, it represents even past lives. And Saturn is considered a karmic planet. So it's the karmic planet in the karmic house. So it's, is it chickens coming home to roost? Well, I don't know about roost, but it certainly is that, you need to be aware of some of these chickens. Maybe you've buried these chickens in your deep crevices of your psyche, and you need to kind of explore certain things. Saturn is a real teacher to us. It's, is seen as harsh sometimes because of the discipline that it demands. But in the 12th house, which can be mental health even, but in addition to that, also just the sense of the collective unconscious, the past lives, probably like the Akashic records. Anything to do with that which is not physical, which is metaphysical, but is also, not, so that means not tangible, but also can deal with beyond this particular lifetime. And so it can be very confusing. Neptune can create a lot of confusion. And Saturn is all about discipline and organization. So, suffice it to say, Saturn is not necessarily at home in the 12th house. How you can make best use of this energy is to make sure that you examine your spiritual life. Do you even have one? Do you spend too much time on trying to manipulate the material world to conform to your desires and, to enhance your ego? The 12th house is egoless. And so maybe your purpose or one of your goals in 2017 is actually an immaterial one. And with Mars absent from your sign, and it's actually not going to just be absent from Capricorn, it's going to be absent for a few signs because of the nature of its transits. Mars transits fairly quickly, but not as quickly as, Venus or Mercury, and of course the moon and things like that. So Mars does not necessarily, it doesn't go through all the 12 signs in 1 year. And so we always look at, okay, what signs is it not going through and how might it affect them? And it may be that this is not going to be the year for you necessarily to just be totally cutthroat in terms of your ambition. Maybe you're going to be somewhat subdued, and maybe this is for your highest good. And so it's not anything bad at all. I think like when Saturn goes into your sign on December 20th, that you're going to like step into your power. I just want to clarify the term Saturn return because I've heard it used in different ways, but to me, the official usage should be, connected to Saturn being in the same sign as your natal Saturn, not as your natal sun. So, or your rising sign. So if you are a Capricorn sun or Capricorn rising, yes, you have a conjunction between, you have that Saturn in your own sign or your own rising sign, but not necessarily calling it a Saturn return, because the Saturn returns occur every 30 years based upon what your natal Saturn is, and they tend to reflect these periods of our life from the time between 28 to 30 and, things like that. But I will say, if you are somebody in your, I think it would be like late 20s, you are going through your Saturn return. Well, duh, yeah, I just said that that's when you go through it. But I was really just thinking in terms of, it's funny. I was actually thinking of Neptune, which is crazy. But there's like this generation, I think if you're around, born between like 1989, 90, like the early 90s, or maybe even until the mid 90s, I'd have to check to be exact. But you have both Neptune and Saturn in Capricorn. And so that can be very interesting to have both of those planets as, part of this, like a Saturn return. So some of you Capricorns, you may also have Saturn in Capricorn. So that would be your natal return. If you were born, in the late 80s or something, or early 90s, maybe, it's actually like about, how many years is it? No, it would just be a very short time. it only takes 2.5 years to go through one sign. So it would have to be, I'd have to check. Now, some of you who are a certain age, and I don't know exactly what age that would be, but some of you have Saturn in Capricorn in your natal chart. So it would be your Saturn return after all. And your sun would also be in Saturn, or your rising sign. Now, in addition to that, some of you have, and this would be a longer stretch of time, would have Neptune in Capricorn. And so that's, I think it's like the late 80s going into the 90s, because I've done some people's charts that are in their 20s in my private readings, and they have this. They have Neptune in Capricorn. Well, that will be very interesting to have this transiting Saturn in conjunction with your natal Neptune, because that, I think that can be very good, actually. Some people think that Saturn and Neptune are like really incompatible, but we've been experiencing like a square between Saturn in Sagittarius and Neptune in Pisces within the transits, and this would actually be a conjunction. And I think that what it could do, especially for those of you who are going through your Saturn return, and so you have Saturn in Capricorn in your natal chart. With that, if you also have Neptune there, that could be very good for manifestation. If you could learn how to tap into visualization and things like that, the law of attraction, you could really clean up, so to speak. So anyway, Capricorn, I think that you guys are really shaking things up, getting your life totally, questioning some of the assumptions that you've had about what life is all about, but it's a good thing. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and good luck to you in 2017. Bye.